Hello and welcome to Belkev Gaming and to part 2 of the Budget Brawl tournament. Now, the Budget Brawl tournament, it's a non-GX and non-V tournament for that matter, where we're playing in a standard format tournament and you can only use non-GX and non-V Pokemon. Every other card is legal, so it's technically not necessarily a budget tournament because we're not really focused on the price of cards. We're looking at the, I suppose, the rarity of cards or the type of Pokemon that you're allowed to use. But I couldn't really think of a better name, so we're sticking with Budget Brawl for the moment, but it's not necessarily a budget tournament. Last video, we got to see my Scatterstoise deck advance through and Tempo Rogue's Nuzzlechew deck advance through, and this video we're taking a look at the final 2 matches. So to kick things off, we've got Startup 21 versus Kevin Blas. So let's take a look at their decks. So Startup 21 has brought a Miltank deck to the party. So the Miltank here, it's got 130 HP, and for 3 colorless energies, it's got Milk Cannon, which does 60 times the number of Moo Milk cards that you have in your hand. So the basic idea behind Miltank is to get 3 energies onto a Miltank, which is a basic Pokemon, so Pokemon search hopefully isn't as big an issue. And then just hold Moo Milk in your hand and take big knockouts. So that's really the purpose of this deck. Now, to help pay for the energy cost, he's running a welder engine with lots of fire energies. Obviously, it's the best way to try and accelerate the energies to the Miltank. And he's also running Volcanion here as well, which is great if you're going second for a flare starter. Allows you just to power up a Miltank sitting on the bench. Also has the High Heat Blast, which is a handy attack here and there that you can go to as long as you got 4 energies in play. Does 60 more damage, so that's 110 total, and that might be enough to get a nice cheeky KO as well. Victini is a nice late game attacker, so 2 energies onto the Victini. Infinity hits basically 20 for every basic energy in your discard pile, and you shuffle them back into your deck. So great just to finish things off or just to get the energies back into the deck partway through the match. And that's really the core idea behind the deck, is get Miltanks charged up, hold Moo Milks into the hand, and then start smashing through your opponent. Now, what's interesting here is the lack of supporters here. So, we've obviously got Welders. Shuffle Draw is not something that you want because you want to be holding your Moo Milk, so Welders really works well with that. But the rest of it just doesn't have too much, well, there isn't another supporter in the deck, really, so it's kind of interesting. Got Acrobikes try and speed through, Judge's Whistle try and speed through, Autopads to be able to pick up item cards, to be able to fetch your Moo Milks or anything like that. Out of the deck, maxed out the Pokecoms for Pokemon Search, and obviously got the Giant Hearth to help try and find fire energies, as well as a couple of Fiery Flints. So very interesting deck build. I guess the Jirachi is really key here to be able to pull out what you need. I'm a little bit surprised that we don't have Poké Gears. But yeah, well, let's see how this thing goes against his matchup. So Startup 21 is up against Kevin Blas' Blaziken deck, and what I'm really enjoying about this is we've got such a large variation in decks so far, and we're seeing a lot of evolution decks coming back as well, with people experimenting with them, and I really do enjoy that about this. So this Blaziken has the Fire Starter ability, which once during your turn, you may attach a Fire Energy from the discard to one of your bench Pokemon, and then does a Fire Stream attack. So for 3 energies, one of them has to be fire, does 90, but you discard a fire energy from this Pokemon, and this attack does 20 damage to all of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So a nice little bit of bench spread on there, assuming that your opponent's not playing Mew. We might be able to set up numbers for future KOs, but you also might be able to pick off low HP Pokemon on the back line there. So the Fire Stream, that's really what they're going for here. Other main cards of the deck, we got Pidgeotto as an engine, so Airmail, once during your turn, you may look for the top 2 cards of the deck, put one of them into your hand, and put the other at the bottom, so great bit of consistency with the Pidgeotto. Got Ninetales here for a bit of gusting, plus it can provide a nice attacker, I guess, for another 90. For that 3 energies as well. But once during your turn, you may discard 2 fire energies from your hand. If you do, you get to switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with that active Pokemon. That synergizes a little bit because we can start accelerating those from the discard again with the Fire Starter. So fire energies hitting the discard's not the end of the world, and obviously we can get them back with the Fire Crystals as well. Carrying a Mew here as well for bench protection. So yeah, going that way with the deck. Now, obviously, using Welders here is absolutely clutch. Welders just the one of the best NG accelerators in the game right now. With the fire deck, that's just an absolute no-brainer. We've got the poke gears, try and fetch out welders. We've got Cynthia just for a bit of shuffle draw. Looking like we're running a Bills and Cynthia and Caitlin, so mostly trying to keep the cards that you've got in the hand. An interesting supporter that I did see was Lysandra, Prism Star, which for each of your fire Pokemon in play, put a card from your opponent's discard pile into the Lost Zone. I was trying to think of why this might be here for a long time, and I was thinking it would be good against the Tina matchup. Unfortunately, we didn't have any Tina decks in the top 8. But it would be really good for the Tina matchup, just be able to flick those Tinas into the Lost Zone. They're gone for the game. They can't just keep coming back. So that's probably the inclusion here, just to tech for that Tina. But yeah, very interesting deck, and I'm looking forward to the match. So let's get started. So we kick on into this match with Slayer's Revenge is Kevin Blah, and Simotech is Startup 21. So we have Kevin Blah going first here, starting with the Vulpix in the active. You can see his hand. His hand is not good at all. Unfortunately, the Poké are only picking up a Lysandra, so he's not going to be able to really, well, he's not going to be able to bench anything more, and that is a devastatingly slow start for Kevin Blah. Not what you want to see, so fortunately for Kevin Blah, the welder action's just going to buy him another turn. He doesn't get the 2 fire energies onto the Miltank, which would have been something he's looking for, but Kevin Blah needs to get some more Pokemon down, otherwise this game could be over very quickly. So considering the milk here, given that, yeah, I'd go with the Fiery Flint, because given that you got no draw here, it'd be smarter to get the Fiery Flint. Thins the deck at the same time, and allows another welder on the next turn. We know that this deck is not playing too much in the way of fire energies, so not fire energies, supporters and draw supporters, so those welders are absolutely crucial. He did consider the stamp, pretty smart not to, really, because that was a very slow start. And yeah, this Bills is gonna, I don't know what Bills is gonna be able to hit. It's not gonna get more Pokemon down, which, yeah, so it's getting a Professor Elms and a Welder. So he's going to be able to Elms the next turn, but he might not get a second turn, because you can see here that Start 21 is going to be able to draw the energies out with the Fiery Flint, and then Welder onto the Miltank. He's got the board in hand already, so he's 1 milk away from ending this very quickly, which would be absolutely devastating for Kevin Blah, and to go down 1 zip early, but can he pull it off? So he's considering what is he going to ditch, considering the Fire Crystal and the Fire Energy here, so that's fine. He can pull out 4 energies, and now with this, he can Welder, draw into the deck just that little bit more, and then Jirachi, between the Welder and Jirachi, can he find the 1 milk that he's looking for? 1 milk, and this is over. So the draw gets some more Miltanks. It's not really what he's looking for. I'm surprised he didn't drop the Giant Hearth there, just to thin some more fire indies from it, but not seeing it. Interesting going the Acrobike rather than the Autopad. The Autopad could have just been a coin flip away from winning this. So top 2 cards, can it pull it off? Ooh, no it can't. So grabbing the Autopad anyway. So now the Autopad. If this flips heads, the game is over. No, cannot find the needed milk to finish this game. So buys Kevin Blah another turn. A much needed turn as well. So just going to energy attach the Miltank here. Pass over by the looks, or considering a reset. Considering a reset's gone with the reset. Interesting call. I mean, I guess he knows that he's pulled in a Professor Elms on that one. Got the Elms back anyway, so yeah, Kevin Blah's still fine to get up and going now. So able to drop a Pidgey, got the Pidgeotto sitting in hand as well. Got the Elms to be able to go and get the board state set up. So very lucky for Kevin Blah there. Just 1 milk away from this game just ending before it even really began. But able to now start setting up the Pidgeotto engine with the Torchic sitting there behind as well. Getting ready for the Blaziken. So Not sure what that one was. Oh, the Pokemon can't attack. Oh, that's not going to really matter for the Jirachi. So, what we're looking over here with Start 21, what's he need? Just needs milks. He needs to find ways into lots of milks at the moment. So, that Stellar Wish isn't helping him with the draw. So, he might be having a bit of an issue on trying to find the milks at this stage. So, I'm going to grab a board out of that. No, custom catcher or switch. Chopping and changing for a little bit, so we might see a switch into a Jirachi probably. I'm assuming you'll go and pull the Jirachi out of this with the Pokecoms. Yep, so that's what's coming here. So able to switch and still look for a milk. I mean, you only need the one milk right now to start getting some KOs. And you can consider how you're getting the other milks on the next turn, I guess. Is potentially the plan here. So Stellar Wish. Any milks? No, not no milks again. So this is my big concern about this deck is whether or not it's got enough draw power in the deck. So to be able to dig in and find the pieces that you need, you really need to be finding, like, even Bills would be a good card in this deck, I reckon, just to be able to dig that little bit more and try and find these item cards and things like that that you need to keep digging through. So it just has to pass over, which is a little bit unfortunate, but has certainly bought the time that Kevin Blah needed after that shaky start to try and get himself going. So getting a couple of energies down here. Then using the Pidgeotos. And Males can't really see what he's got a choice between, unfortunately, with the view we've got. That's alright, grabs a Cynthia and Caitlin there. Probably looking for, what, Candy? Yeah, Candy would be the one that you're after here. Get into that Blaziken. Haven't really looked at his discard. Has he got Fire Energies in the discard ready to roll? Oh, well, he can put some there anyway. So, yeah, that Caitlin Cynthia synergized really nicely there just to be able to dump Fire Energy, get Welder in, which is really nice as well. And, yeah, just setting up beautifully now. So, got the energies on board for the Blaziken to start hitting away. Now, able to get some really important damage counters on those Mill Tanks as well. So you might remember that the damage cap output really of that Blaziken is 90. But it's hitting 20 to each of the opponent's bench Pokemon, which is absolutely crucial here. So we pass over. So able to take the KO there on the Jirachi, passing back over to Start 21. And what looks like a big problem early, like this game could be over before it began. Kevin Blah's really in a decent position now. So to take out the Blaziken, you're gonna need what, 3 milks. That's a lot of milk to have to try and find here. So able to finally pull in one of the milks. Finally seeing one milk here. A lot of work to find that milk. But the only way to get a KO here is with the custom catches. And probably going to be a little bit careful that you're not falling too far behind these prize card race too early. So, yeah, so Am is going to do that. Take out the Pidgeotto engine, which is I think a pretty good call. Try and take away some of that consistency out of it. But you can still see here the draw power of this deck is a bit of a concern, I feel. So none of the cards in hand is going to help with drawing at this stage. Welders once again, so Auto Pack could be huge here, trying to get another milk, and like I said, needs the 3 milks to get the KO, so Jirachi could get the other one as well. But it's still a really, tough deck when you've got hands like this to try and draw the power that you, draw into what you need to. So alright, working on the second Blaziken, which is really important. You gotta love his ability, just being able to charge up from the discard and not really be too worried about how much discarding there is going on there. And getting the rare candy as well, absolutely huge here. The Pidgeotto engine just really showing its strength right now. Just being able to churn through the deck, find the pieces that he needs to really put a lot of pressure on. So you can see here that 90 is just not enough to get this first Miltank. Oh, Heat Factory is a great top deck. Absolutely huge top deck there. And a heads on the order pad. So able to get the second milk now. Probably able to put a lot of pressure on. Should be able to get the KO. Well, it's not guaranteed yet. No, by far from it. But you can see here what I was saying before. The Blaziken just hitting that 20 in earlier to the Miltank. Not quite enough, but that 40 damage on the bench Miltank now. It's set up just to be KO'd the moment it hits the active. So wouldn't be surprised if we see a switch here to the Jirachi. Setting up the Volk is interesting. No, not gonna switch to the Jirachi. It's gonna go with the 2 Moo Moo Milks. So that is hitting for 120. Doesn't get the KO. I am surprised didn't switch to the Jirachi, looking for, you know, a third milk just to get rid of that Blaziken, because he wouldn't have known that the candy's sitting there in Kevin Bla's hands right now to get the second Blaziken into play. Plus, able to replace the second Pidgeotto as well. Really strong board position now. Really strong board position. Would love to find the Vulpix here, I reckon. That's something he would absolutely love to find. Doesn't find the Vulpix, because the Vulpix would just allow you to pull in probably the other Miltank and take out both Miltanks at the same time and set up Jirachi so it's only one turn away from being KO'd as well. That would have been a huge turn if you could pull that off. I mean, still got the Pidgeottos, I guess, to try and get it. Can he find that Vulpix? Not at this stage. Ah, that Ninetales. Be desperately searching that Ninetales. An order pad, not order pad, the Pokecoms or a Ninetales. It's really what you'd love to see here on this turn. Being able to get a double KO. Either way, you should be setting up that Jirachi for a KO on the next turn. So, doesn't find it by the looks. Has settled with the Fire Stream. But still a really strong position because that Jirachi is just about KO'd. And we'll be able to take the 2 prize cards on this turn, you would think. So, just going to Heat Factory here. Gets the third milk, and I really do feel like the switch was needed in that last turn to try and dig for that third milk. And you would have found it too, because it was sitting at the top of the deck, so just going to go on Acrobike. Try and dig a little bit deeper into the deck. I mean, for the lack of draw power that I was commenting on before, he has only got 12 cards left in the deck, so it is churning through it. It's just whether or not it can find those milks quick enough is probably my biggest concern having a look at this deck just at the minute. So let's grab the Fire Energies back. Be able to weld her onto the new Miltank. Just NG attach. Where's that one going to go? Yeah, Volk's probably the turn to go Volk, actually. It's probably a really good turn to go the Volcanion as an attacker, because that will take out the Blaziken. I'd still weld her onto the tank, so. But really missing Mew at this point. Could potentially use, I'm just trying to think what Moo Moo Milks actually do. They heal, don't they? So it could potentially heal with the Moo Moo Milks, but I'm not sure if that heals the actives, does that heal anyone. Might actually take a little bit of a look while this game is happening at what the Moo Moo Milk itself actually does. Hang on. Moo Moo Milk. Yeah, so it's choose one Pokemon, then flip 2 coins, and for each heads, heal 30 from that Pokemon. So, yeah, it could have tried saving that Jirachi. And to stay in this match, you would have thought that you would probably have to have gambled. I know you don't really want to be using the Moo Moo Milks, but I think you'd nearly have to use one just in that situation and try and save that Jirachi. Because losing 2 prize cards here in this turn... Oh, it doesn't lose 2? No, the 90 hits at the active. It's going to survive with 10 damage. So it's not a double KO on this turn. But it's still going to take out the Jirachi and stay ahead in the match. And it's going to start putting the other Miltank under threat as well. Oh, the Ninetales. I wasn't even watching there. The Ninetales is back up and rolling. So he's able to take the Miltank out and set up the Volcanion in the same turn. That is huge. That is absolutely huge. Got the Candy in play. So just needs another Volcanion. Not Volcanion. A Blaziken, and gonna have a really, really, really strong board state where you'd be wondering at this point, what is the comeback strategies for this deck right now for Startup 21? So needs to find a third energy. Can find it if it's in deck still with the Giant Hearth. Although going to go with the Jirachi on this play. It's an interesting call. Maybe didn't have the third Fire Energy in deck. Wasn't really paying attention to how many Fire Energies were in the discard, so can't really confirm. Looking at that, yeah, no Fire Energies there. So really forced to go with the Jirachi here. I'm going to retreat out of the Volcanion and use Victini. What's a bit of a worry though is there any more welders left in the deck? Because Miltank's the other way to get rid of, like, to be able to one-shot here. Oh, on the top deck of a Blaziken. Absolutely huge. So top deck Blaziken to take out the Victini here, and now Start 21 needs to find a welder. Now, I do know that he put back the power, put the power pad into the bin much earlier in the game, so I do not know if he's gonna have the welder left to be able to, you know, play with. And that attack there just sets up Miltank, so that's set up for a one-shot as well. No Fire Energies on the board at all. I mean, I guess could use Moo Moo Milks to try and heal up, but that's also taking away damage output. Yeah, things are not looking good right now. So just top decked Fire Energy, that's not going to help. Moo Moo Milk would be the only way that you could try and last an attack of any sort here. This will allow us to see the deck a little bit, see if there's any welders. No, there's no welders left. There's no NG acceleration. Yeah, I think this is, he's just about conceding at this point. He's just ran out of resources. Beating that power pad hurt as well. Taking too long to find those milks. That was really the difference in this match. If this could have been over before it even began, if you could just find that one milk card right at the start. But you could see once the Blaziken set up and once you got that Pidgeotto engine online, this deck really rolled through. That Ninetales is a nice bit as well. So moving on to match 2. And Start 21 gets to go first here, but down 1 game at the moment. So has to make some moves on this turn. So lands the heads on the autopad. It's a good start. Getting the Pokecoms early. I mean, you've got to set up early, so that's got to be the move here. Comes back the Victini. Starting to set up a tank. Gonna use the Judge's Whistle before the Fiery Flip. Alright, that gives some discard fodder, I guess. So you could go Fiery Flint, get rid of maybe a Fire Crystal and the Fire Energy, although gonna get rid of the Custom Catcher instead. Really looking for a Welder now. So this Jirachi pull is absolutely huge. And it could not find the Welder unless... Oh no, the Welder is there. The Welder is there. So, clutch pull. He can't take the milk. He wants the milk. He desperately wants the milk, but he can't take the milk. He's going to take the Welder here. Oh, Autopad could be huge. Gotta find a board or a switch, but he's got plenty of that in the deck. So here you'd be thinking it's got to be a milk, just so he can get some early pressure on. He's going to prioritize the board. Interesting. I mean, he needs both. Does need both. I'm going to retreat to the Jirachi for extra dig. Oh, Heat Factory is a good pull. That is a really good pull. Like I said, the draw power of this deck is probably the concern of it more than anything else, but getting an early Heat Factory is absolutely huge. I mean, unfortunately for him, he's playing a fire deck, which is going to be able to take advantage of that Heat Factory as well. But just that extra dig power. The concerns I have now is he needs a board and a Moo Moo Milk, or a switch of some kind and a milk on the next turn. That Heat Factory stays in play though, that's pretty huge. So turn 1 Elms. It's when you want to see your Elms. Be able to set up that Pidgeotto engine. As well as, you'd have to be assuming here the Torchic's going down. So yeah, smart move there. Getting a bench Torchic in play. You could not trust that that Torchic was going to be hanging around here. Being out of Heat Factory, getting another Pidgey. Powering up the back line Torchic and just passing it over. It's going to Heat Factory first, just see what that draws. Oh, gets the switch, so that's beautiful. So allows him 2 Jirachi pulls looking for some milks, really. Gonna have to bin a Miltank. It's not ideal because the lack of attack is that this deck... Well, it's not got a lack of attack. It is running Brock's Grid, isn't it? So yeah, it can recover. So that's fine. Yeah, pull and Welder here. Add a Fire Crystal, get some energies and make the most of that Welder as well, which is pretty huge. I'd nearly be tempted to go with the Volk though, on this turn. Just because the Volk can get a cheeky KO. And it's a guaranteed KO. But no, just going to power up the Miltank. See, I would have gone with the Volk there because it's hitting for 110. And luckily, he's found the milk. He had plenty of opportunities to try and get milks, I guess. I mean, I guess Blaziken's hitting 20 to the bench is a bit, you know, annoying as well. Just setting up those Miltanks that they're not going to be able to last anything. So found 2 milks out of this. Does need a 3rd milk if he's going to want to one-shot these Blazikens. Gonna go after, yeah, that's pretty smart. That's pretty smart using the custom catches there. Go after the one that's charged up. That way, I don't see... Oh, a welder play could get him charged up still. But it forces Kevin Blah to have a lot more pieces now to be able to respond this turn. And if Kevin Blah can't, there's dangers that he's going to fall too far behind. Especially if he can't find... So he's got the Pidgeotto engine. But especially if he can't find a way into a Blaziken this turn. Although, there's no welder on that play, so... So far, at least. There's the candies. There's the Blaziken. Still looking for a welder desperately. Can he find the welder? And has he got fire energies in the discard? Well, he's got the welder, but he'd need more than 3 fire energies in the discard. Although he's got the Ninetales to get more back in there, I guess, to make the most of Blaziken's ability. Needs to be able to get out of that Pidgeotto though. So needs to find a board or something like that. If he's running it. I'm not sure if he's running boards. Could have a look at his deck again. But could be really awkward here if he can't get the attack off. And I don't think he's going to be able to. I don't think he's able to get out of that Pidgeotto, which is unfortunate. Yeah, just going to have to pass over and sacrifice the Pidgeotto here, which is pretty devastating. Especially since this deck now has a couple of Miltanks up and rolling. Can start setting up a 3rd Miltank here, really. Gonna use the switch now, dig for those milks, I'm assuming. So you could just take guaranteed milk here. Yeah, that's what he's gonna do. Just sets himself up to one-shot Blazikens for the future. I think he was indicating that he wants the custom catcher as well, just to be able to take out that Blaziken now, but 2 prize cards up, you can't complain at that. And that's before there's any response whatsoever. Just needing to show there's only got the 1 milk as well. Doesn't need to show that all 3 are sitting in the hand, ready to roll. And he's really sitting pretty now. I mean, there's still a lot of game to play. And things like stamps can really kill you as well when you're relying on the milks. So just going to get Elms, probably get the Pidgeotto engine again, and start setting up the next Blaziken. Although I only grabbed the Pidgeotto. May have prized the final Torchic, so setting up the Ninetales. Looks like things might be getting a little bit desperate here. The Ninetales might have to come in and do some work. Now I'm pretty sure with the fire crystals in hand, should be able to get a gust up to be able to get that 20 damage onto the couple of mill tanks as well as just hitting in. And that's something that really works well in combination with this deck. Although maybe didn't have the fire energies in the discard while he was prioritizing getting that Ninetales set up. But it just synergizes really well being able to pull things off the bench, putting things in the discard and hitting in. But not having another Blaziken ready to go is just hurting that strategy right here. So he's able to go with the Milk Cannon straight away, take out the Blaziken, and just sit pretty and wait to see what kind of response Kevin Blah can find. So let's have the Pidgeotto engine. It's probably got to find a Brock's Grit here. Because I don't know if these Ninetales are going to be able to carry him for long enough. I mean, can set up this Ninetales to attack here. Hitting for 90. Could take out the Mill Tank. Could gust something up. Needs a lot this turn. Like, you need to be able to Brock's Grit to try and get your chickens back. I just feel like at this point in time, there's just too many pieces needed without enough time to find them all. So probably having to Welder onto the Vulpix here, setting up the next Ninetales to be the next attacker. Which I think he's going to do here. Just wait and see. Yep, so really forced to have to rely on getting that next Ninetales into play. And ready to attack. Although got to hold the Ninetales in hand, which is interesting. Rather than playing it down straight away. Just picking up a Welder out of the prizes, I think that was. The upside here as well is Start 21 can just go in with Volcanion at this point and just save a Mill Tank. And it's got the Jirachi sitting there pretty as well. Needs the Power Pad, that's a good pull. Just to put Welders back. We'll have the Fire NGs sitting in the discard that you can pull from. Just to be able to set up the Volk here. I think the Volk's the ideal play. Going to drop the Victini down. And just hit him with the Volk. Yeah, that's a nice play there. So 2 prizes to go. 2 prizes. But should be able to get KOs pretty easily here through the Volcanion. So I guess the best hope would be to try and stamp. Take out the Volcanion if you can. Not that you can right now because that's hitting for 90 maximum. So not a great position. I think the game's probably too far gone now. It's really got out of control. Having the Welder in hand is absolutely huge as well for Startup 21. Being able to power up that Victini. And just having plenty of options that you can go into. Going to see a Fire Crystal, pull back more Fire NGs. The fact that these Ninetales can't last any hits from the Volcanion just makes things more awkward too. So he's going to pull something up. What's he going to pick? Going to hit out the Jirachi with the board. Got that beautiful Pidgeotto engine. It's going to be able to get to 4 prize cards remaining. But at this point in time, the attackers are just there, ready, set to go. Could probably go into Miltank now. Can still go and get Jirachi pulls because it's got the board sitting in hand. Finally finds the Torchic from the prizes. Not a lot that needs to happen here, just probably a welder to the Victini, just set that up. It's got 3 attackers ready to roll. And just probably start smashing here, really. Doesn't really need to do a huge amount more. Yeah, so just high heat blast, take out the Ninetales here. And with no attackers ready to go, there's nothing that can be done at this point to try and stop this. Yeah. So the well played there. Just realizing and the concede, yeah. So we go into match 3 now. Tied at 1 each. And we go back to Kevin Blah starting first. Got the Mew in the active, which I think is really important here. To probably have a bit of protection. Plus the Mew can get some damage spread counters early. While you're setting up the chickens. Just try and make up numbers for a little bit later. Not a bad start, but not the best start. Would love to see the Pidgeotto engine online pretty early, you would have thought. Got the Volcanion in hand. It's just whether or not I can find a Miltank to really make the most out of a Miltank and a switch of some kind. Probably not going to see that. Oh, it's got the board. But yeah, we're not going to see the Volcanion really be able to take advantage of its first turn as much as you'd like to. Just grabbing the another poke comes out. Is going to comes away the Volk. Go and get the Miltank. I'm just probably going to sit pretty with the Jirachi in the active. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing if you're hitting him with Mew for a little bit, because like I said, it's just probably setting up numbers for a little bit later. And after seeing that slow start as well, oh, it's not the best. Pidgeotto without the Pidgey. No candies to get into the Blaziken yet. Dropping the Fire Engie. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if you just see a Fire Engie onto the Mew and you just start seeing some Psy Powers. I think it's Psy Power, isn't it? Yeah, Psy Power. Just start setting up some numbers for later. Gonna drop them all on the Miltank. So this is a pretty big turn here. Because if he can set up, the world is huge. If he can set up and start taking KOs with Miltank this turn, puts a lot of pressure on Kevin Blah for just being a little bit slow to set up. Oh, it's got the Miltank set up, ready to roll. That could not have worked any better. 2 Moo Moo Milks as well. Really putting a lot of pressure on this turn right now to find that candy. So much pressure on Kevin Blah now. He's got to be able to find that candy and take out this Moo Moo Milk this turn. I mean, doable. Definitely doable. But not necessarily a lot of draw power to get that done either. Ooh, double custom catches. So if he tries hiding on the bench, that's not good for him as well. So the Caitlyn Cynthia must hit a candy. You would think. Must hit that candy. Gets the welder back. Oh, the heat factory could save him still. Go and get a couple of fire energies out. You have to dig for that candy. So heat factory has to go in here. I know it does help Startup 21 as well. It doesn't have a huge amount of draw power, but you've got a heat factory here. You've got to go after that candy as hard as you can. Oh, and found it. Found it. Now this is interesting. So did get the candy. Hasn't found any of the Pidgeys yet. Which is a bit of a concern. But all you need from... With the heat factory in play, that works so well for... Oh no, the 90 doesn't actually fix up the numbers. Oh, it's 130 HP. So I'm looking at a really small view of the screen. I forgot that's 130 HP of the meal tank there. So no, that's devastating. Can't take out the meal tank as a one-shot. And the meal tank has the one-shot back with the heat factory in play. Just being able to draw lots of cards here. So... And being able to start setting up the second meal tank. Such a dominant position Start 21's decks got into. This is where you'd really wish you'd been running a reset stamp. Probably the Achilles heel of the Moo Milk deck. Any kind of disruption, hand disruption whatsoever. Gonna power pad back, a couple of welders. Oh, that was absolutely huge, that turn from Start 21. Just being able to one-shot the Blaziken straight out. Really under so much pressure now. Still has the heat factory in play as draw. Still just a candy away from being able to attack again, but only taking the first prize card. And not even putting enough damage counts on the second meal tank there to set that up for an instant KO on the next turn. Makes things extremely awkward. Especially since he now knows that Start 21 has the one-shots ready to go. So using the poke comps here. Still needs to find the candy. Finally getting the Pidgeys down. Would have really wished to have had those Pidgeys a lot sooner. And misses on the candy. Oh, that hurts. That hurts. And what's even worse about this, if he switches away, the custom catchers are sitting in hand, ready just to pull up whatever he wants. Although a Singe does it here. A Singe does do it. So able to take it out without needing to evolve. Perhaps should have been more considering setting up the back line. But, yeah, the Singe gets the job done to keep him alive in the match. I'm going to have the Pidgeotto engine up next turn. Although a reset stamp would be really good here. If you can autopad for a stamp. That could really be a bad blow to that Pidgeotto line that's about to be set up. Putting him back down to 5 cards. Would not be surprised to see a stamp on this play. Yeah, he's considering the stamp now. I think that's a very good move right now. To stamp him. You hate to see it, but that is devastating. So what's he get out of this new hand? Does pull one Pidgeotto, or lucky enough to get the candy. Still needs to get a lot more pieces into play. Really relying on the top 3 cards of his deck. With the Pidgeotto, just able to see the next 2. But start 21, you can see the power of this deck if it gets up and going. Like I said, the draw power is the one thing that really worries me about the deck. And, you know, what sort of response can it make to being stamped? And particularly being stamped late. But being stamped at any time is probably painful. But you can see just a basic Pokemon, 3 NGs, and really being able to one-shot anything that we're going to see in this format. Once you get a couple of them online, like if you can't hand disrupt, this is a powerhouse deck that's just able to keep rolling through. And then having a nice cheap Victini that can just attack for 2 NGs late, get another nice KO. And the Volcanions being able to chip in for 110 at various stages as well. It's a nice deck. It's a nice deck. Nice little powerhouse. Has its weaknesses, and we've seen those weaknesses in the first game. But if it can just sit here with a fat hand like it's got, it really just starts churning through. So I'm looking at what options does Kevin Blah have here. I mean, not great options. I mean, I don't really know where he goes from here. So just going to Brock's Grip. I don't think the Lyssandra's good in this matchup. Like I said, I think the Lysandra is going to be good against something like Tina Tags, and that's probably about all, really. But just having to pass, you hate to see it. Trip Custom Catcher, sitting really pretty here. Is considering the Custom Catcher probably pull up the only damaging threat or the draw power. Yeah, that's probably a good move there. Go after the draw power. Got the Autopad heads again. Get the Fire Crystal happening. Make the most out of Welder maybe. So could poke comms back and just get a nice Welder pull here. Yeah, that's what he's going to do. What's he going to set up? Just a Volcanion. Fair enough. I mean, he's in a pretty good spot at the moment. And Volcanion's not dependent on Moo Moo Milks, I guess. He's actually going to go to the Volt to attack for a little while to protect the Miltanks in the back line. He's got his own Heat Factory at some stage. Not going to NG attach at the moment. Probably just save those NGs in deck just in case. Get stamped or something, but surely at this point, Start 21 realizes there's no stamps coming. Did top deck a Pidgeotto, which gives him a little bit more draw power. But you can see there, that is a completely dead hand. And already down 3 prize cards and not looking like taking any prize cards anytime soon. Does get a Blaziken, but doesn't have the Fire Energy to be able to charge it up fully. And Start 21 is sitting pretty with a switch in hand as well, although it's going to protect the Blaziken, just give up the Pidgeotto, give up the draw power. Lysandra, because that's the only supporter he can play. I don't think there's any benefit to putting anything into the discard, maybe other than Fire Energies. Yeah, that's probably the only thing that is going to be of benefit. And can only put 1 card in the discard as well. That's, yeah. I think we're seeing pretty well the demise of the deck now. 1 turn left in it. There's no draw power ready to go. Can get a hit of 90 and 20 to all the bench. It's not going to be enough to take any KOs. And can retreat or switch the mill tank for game. So we see the fire stream. And we see the power of the mill tank deck there when it gets up and rolling. You can also see, like, in this match that we've seen the weak side of the mill tank deck, but also the strength of the mill tank deck once it gets up and rolling. It can just one-shot whatever's going to be in front of it. And if it just sits there with a fat hand with no hand disruption, yeah, it can be a pretty powerhouse deck just to be able to smash through the opposition. So there we have it. We see Start 21's mill tank deck really blast through the Blaziken deck there and advancing through to the semi-finals. So that deck will be coming up against my Scatterstoys deck, and it should be a really interesting matchup because it's a little bit scary. The matchups where they can one-shot my Wishy-Washies, because we're really hoping to be able to, you know, we're a setup deck, I guess, and we're really be able to hope that we can just take a hit here and there to be able to maybe catch up prize cards. But having said that, they've got a lot of moving pieces they've got to get into as well, and I do have stamps, well, a stamp to try and, you know, swing the game that way as well. So it should be an intriguing matchup, and I look forward to it when we get to the semis. But in between times, we need to get to our final match of the quarterfinals, which is between Edward Hyler and Strasser. So let's get into the deck. Now, Edward Hyler has brought one of the more intriguing decks, and a deck that I'm really looking forward to seeing in action to this tournament, in a Turbo Beast-like deck. And I was playing around with a Turbo Beast deck of my own, except it didn't have so many beasts around it. It focused on Turbo Wall. So I've featured Turbo Wall in the tournament a little bit. I was actually really close playing this deck. I tested and everything. So this is where I was sort of at with the list. When it went off, it went off. When it didn't, it didn't. And that was the issue. But yeah, I focused around the Stack Attacker. Edward Hyler's brought just a lot of different beasts into play and really probably focused around Guzzlord to be able to make up prize cards in it. So whilst my Turbo Wall was about walling up and just denying your opponents from being able to take quick knockouts, this is about catching the prize card race up with the Red Banquet. So the Red Banquet, this opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack, you take an extra prize card. So suddenly this is a way to take 2 prize cards in this format. So 120 damage, it's okay, but you might need to make up numbers and have other attackers around as well. So Buzzwell, that's the 4 prize card turn. Sledgehammer hitting for a nice 120. On the 4 prize card turns. Keep in mind that any of these beasts can be boosted with the Beast Energy at any stage as well for an extra 30, so that 120 can become 150 as well. The Baby Clown though, on the 3 prize card turn, being able to spread 12 damage counters and setting up KOs can be absolutely massive. We've got Nihiligo with the Nightcap being able to choose one of your opponent's attacks and use it as this attack when you're exactly on 2 prize cards. So all this is being powered through the Beast Ring. So the idea behind the deck is to really pop off a couple of Miss Magiuses, get a couple of great draws, burn through your deck and set up all your Pokemon ready to attack. Just being a discard, throw this into the discard pile, knocking it out obviously, drawing up till you got 7 cards, just allows you to set up everything with the Beast Rings and then hopefully catch up in the prize cards really, really quickly by being able to hit in with the Buzzwell to immediately knock out your opponent. That's what you're really hoping for. And then being able to catch up the prizes through either Guzzlord and Blacephalon and just being too quick for your opponent to really keep up with the game. So I'm really interested to see this deck in action. I love the deck build and I do actually want to play around with it a little bit myself because yeah, it's just a fun deck I think to see in action. So yeah, let's have a look at these opponents. Now, Edward Hyler's opponent, Strasser, has brought a Charizard deck into play, and I love this Charizard. Was it from Team Up? I think that's Team Ups. The Roaring Resolve, just a self-charging attacker. You absolutely love it. You just chuck a couple of damage cannons onto the Charizard, search your deck for a couple of Fire Energies, and you're able to continuous Blaze Ball, which does 50 damage for each Fire Energy discard from the Charizard, and you've got to discard them all, plus a 30 base, so that's 130 at least, and you can obviously Energy Attach or maybe even Welder on there, and you're going to be hitting out anything that's in your way. So the Charizard, love the Charizard, and I'm really intrigued to see it in this tournament. There is more than just the Charizard going on here though, so the Hoop is in play just for heavy ability decks, and even a Domination for 1 color's energy is really, good value if your opponent's just running lots and lots of different abilities. Tapu Fini is really good if there's Ultra Beast into play, so being able to use the Nature Wave 100 base damage for 1 color's energy is absolutely huge on a basic, and this is an Ultra Beast matchup, so we might see the Tapu Fini in play here at various stages. We got the Ninetales as well, which is great bit of gusting, be able to pick off the targets that you need to pick off for just discarding 2 energies. So great gusting synergy there. Salazzle for just great draws, so being able to discard a fire energy and draw 3 cards, that's absolutely huge as well. Basically a heat factory, but on a Pokemon as well, so huge draw potential of this deck as well. Obviously, there's going to be lots of discarding fire energies to the discard pile, and you've got to get ways to either get them back into the deck so you can use your Roaring Resolve. That's the reason energy recyclers here. Brock's Grit can do that as well as Pokemon, so yeah, great ways to recover the energy into the deck. Fire Crystal, though, is a great way to get it back in the hand and can synergize into drawing with Salazzle or being able to just gust something up with the Ninetales. So yeah, great bit of synergy here. Really looking forward to this matchup. Love the Zard, love the Beast deck, and yeah, excited for this match. So let's get started. So Strasser will be kicking us off. Strasser is actually appropriately named Strasser on this, and Edward Hyler is appropriately named Edward Hyler. So don't need to introduce who is who. Yeah, it's got the Cynthia and Caitlin first up. Definitely go on the Cynthia Cannon rather than Tate and Liza, you would, because you've got the Candy as well. So the Tapu Fini is a little bit better than I think he probably realised in this matchup, being a Beast deck. But look at Edward Hyler's hand. Like, that's just about perfect. Not quite, but it's pretty close to what you're after here. And even if you're taking a turn, losing 1 Miss Magius isn't necessarily the end of the world. So it'll be interesting to see what he does here. Poke Gear. Goes and gets a Bills. Now, Bills could just make this absolutely amazing. This could pop off right now if this Bills finds some Dust Stones. We can't see what he's actually got to pick from, unfortunately. But he does have that Dust Stone and gets a Greens as well, which is a nice find as well for the next turn. So this does have the potential to pop off right here. But only going with the 2. That's an interesting call. Just getting the 2 cards there. Finds another Dust Stone though. That's pretty huge. That's pretty huge. Doesn't find the fighting energy. That's something that can be a little bit tricky with this deck. There's all the different types of energies that it's actually running to be able to find exactly what you're looking for each time. So let's see what he does here. Just gonna ditch a Dark Energy. I mean, if he could take out this Charmander on this turn, it'd be pretty devastating. Alright, getting the Blown. Getting a Psychic Energy attachment to the Blown. Keep in mind that there's still a lot that you could find here that could help. Attack with the Buzzwole right here and now. Oh, doesn't find any of them. Looking for Beast Rings, really. So it's missed on the Beast Rings. It did pop off, but didn't quite get into the Beast Rings like you were hoping for. That energy attachment to the baby Blowns there could absolutely be devastating. Could have taken out the Charmander there and taken a huge lead in this match. But pretty good turn 1. Got the Greens for the next turn to be able to go and get, those Beast Rings that you desperately need for that deck. But it should be a really good match because both decks have just got exactly what they wanted in the setup. Except Strasser actually has the KO here to go to 3 prize cards. That's actually pretty huge. The Tapu Fini is a really good card in this matchup as well, depending what's sitting in the active. I mean, it might not be anymore because it's only hitting for 100. I don't know if anything has just 100 or less HP. So the Tapu Fini might not be quite as huge as I was originally thinking. It could be huge while they've got lower HP Pokemon sitting there. Just going with the Cynthia. Getting another Zard's alright. Bit surprised that we didn't see the Roaring resolve before the Cynthia though. Although he might be a little bit worried. Is the Guzzlord down just at the moment? We'll have a look when that hand goes. Yeah, the Guzzlord is down. So he might be a little bit worried about the Guzzlord. Although he is going to have to Roaring Resolve, isn't he? If he wants to attack. Yeah, so a bit surprised didn't see the Roaring Resolve before the Cynthia. Having said that, I only hit into 1 NG. So it didn't seem to punish him too bad for it. It's got the rare candy into the Zard the next turn. So it's really a question on whether or not he can continue just getting into the Zards he needs. So this is the Baby Blound turn to set up multiple KOs. So really, you'd be wanting to hit out the Charmander that's at the back there. I suppose you could consider hitting out like a Salazzle or something like that as well. I'm assuming the Charmander would be a priority here, just to try and stop the big time attackers. Like I said, 100's just not quite enough with that Tapu Fini for this particular match. Unless, of course, it's like a Mischievous that's sitting the active or something like that. And then it's actually pretty huge. Keep in mind, they'd have to have an Ultra Beast down as well. But it's got one the Guzzlord set up. Not going to use the Beast energy on the Guzzlord that's set at the moment. So I'm assuming... I mean, he has to know that he's actually losing his Beast Ring turn after this turn. So that's it on the Beast Rings right here. Because the Charizard is going to be able to get the KO. Taking out Tapu Fini. Decided that that was the biggest threat. That's an interesting call. You know, I know that that can hit for such an efficient damage, but the Charmander is like a legitimate attacker that can one-shot. So, yeah, it's a bit surprising. Only taking out one prize card on that, though, is pretty bad if he's hoping to get the Guzzlords to finish, because the Guzzlords still need 3 KOs. Like, he needs 3 KOs as a minimum. So right here, you'd be saying Strasser would need one more attacker after this to get game. He's got 2 Zards set up. Just needs to set up another Zard, really. And if he can get that final Zard up and going, you'd think he's in a pretty good spot here. He's got a couple of turns to get that final Zard up as well. So gonna run a switch play here. Try and avoid the KO. Keep in mind, like, you're gonna need some fire NGs to be able to use the welder. That's the only thing that could really hurt here is the lack of draw that's right now available. But definitely a lot of concern there about the Guzzlord being able to take 2 prize cards on that turn. But my worry about doing that, though, I would have probably just accepted the 2 prize cards going down, because you can't charge up that Charizard. Like, it's going to be really tough. So they hit him for 120. I mean, the Beast NG you can use and take out the Charizard anyway, but do you take the chance there and go, what have you got? If you're Edward, like, do you just hit him for 120, or do you chuck the Beast NG on and make sure you get the KO? It's going to chuck the Beast NG on and make sure he gets the KO. That seems fair. But that also means that's the NG attachment gone for that turn. I'm not sure if Nihilego is going to be able to copy an attack that's going to be effective enough either. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an Oak set up here. I don't know if the energy recycler... Oh yeah, putting fire energies back in the deck's good for the welder. That is good. I'd say I wouldn't be surprised seeing an oak setup. Just to thin from the deck rather than just putting more back into it. Because right now he is in desperate search of another Zard to go in with an attack. I mean, the Hooper is another option, but there's no abilities there, so the Hooper's going to be really tough. Go try and find that Zard. The fact that he doesn't get an energy attachment is actually pretty brutal here. Not able to one-shot the Guzzlord really opens the door for Edward now. Really does leave the door wide open. So going to greens here. Getting a custom catcher. And that's actually pretty huge as well because it leaves options available. Being able to pick someone off the bench. But the Nihilego can only attack here this turn, can't it? Because it's on the 2 prize card turn. So I'm really interested to see exactly how he approaches it. So going to take the KO, get the 2 prize cards here. Didn't put the Lily Doll down, which is a bit surprising. Considering I would have thought he might need to stall for some time here. But that is a hard brick from Strasser. That is a hard brick from Strasser, and that's going to be game. So Edward Hyler's going to take out the first game here and go up in what was a very fun match. Both decks did look like they were going to really pop off and just take away that game, and just, yeah, it was a good match. Good game 1. Looking forward to seeing the second match now. So Tapu Fini in the active. This is really good if you if he ends up with a Mischievous that you can just hit into. As long as there is some kind of Ultra Beast sitting on the bench. So we see the Mischievous in play from Edward here. Oh, triple mulligan. Oh no, double mulligan. It's not the best. So he's got to make a decision here about exactly how he goes about this. I wouldn't be surprised if I see just a Mysterious Treasure and a Dust Stone here. But having said that, you're not going to be really drawing... you draw a reasonable amount. Nothing special, I guess. Mysterious Treasure and Ultra Space. Alright. You'd have to be really concerned about dropping down an Ultra Beast, though. Getting down the second Mischievous. Okay, so really building up for the second turn. I wouldn't be surprised if Edward did hold on to whatever Ultra Beast he's going to pull in here. Probably the Buzzwole. Rather than playing it down. Playing that Buzzwole down will... Or the Guzzlord. Playing that down will pretty much... Ooh. Give a prize card to Strasser here. I mean, maybe he's not too worried about losing the Mischievous. I mean, it plays... He only needs to pop off one Mischievous that way. You could greens and get a guaranteed pull with your Beast Ring. So that could be an option. He's going to run an Oak setup here. He's just done a deck check. Get the Mew, the Charmander, the Ditto. But doesn't have a good hand at all. Just commenting there, that's a scary card for him. But yeah, it doesn't have a good hand at all. The Acrobike's going to have to be pretty huge. The top 3 cards are going to have to be pretty huge, really. So this way you can go and get the Dust Stone to get Miss Magius. You can go and get a Beast Ring and really guarantee that you're hitting in on the next turn. Wouldn't be surprised to see an Ultra Space. Go and get the Buzzwole in this turn. And that's exactly what he's doing, yeah. So it just guarantees a Beast Ring. So it's not probably the biggest loss in the world. You don't just have, like, you don't have the double draw power of a double Miss Magius turn, but yeah, it's probably not the end of the world. Interesting, these running the switch. Oh, it's just to burn the hand down so we can get more value out of it. Not worrying too much about getting into the Baby Buzz here. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can just start popping off and taking 2 prize cards at a time, it's only 3 KOs and you've got game. Where Baby Buzz has to get a couple of KOs to really make it worthwhile. So yeah, we'll see what happens here. Not finding any more Beast Rings, which is really what he was after. Does have at least one more turn of that though. And has bills to try and help out with that. But we'll have the KO on the Tapu Fini and level up the prize card race. So it needs an absolute clutch pull from the top 3 cards of the deck here, Strasser. And the switch isn't going to cut it. The Acrobike is absolutely huge. What can he find? Rosa is good. Rosa will save this turn. I had to put another Charmander down, start setting that up as well. And wouldn't be surprised here if it goes and gets a... oh, not available. The Hound is not available. I was going to say so you can draw extra cards. So just going to have to go with the Ninetales play. Set up that. But he can't get heat factor or anything. So draw's still going to be an issue here. But it's going to have to take out the threat. The Guzzlord threat. But then that Baby Blacephalon can get 2 prizes on the next turn as well. Which is pretty huge. If he doesn't evolve. Oh no, Ditto will be evolving here. So yeah, he's protected that. Although, no, you're going to be able to whack out the Charmander and the Mew. With the Baby Buzz. That's pretty devastating, really. It's probably going to come a lot down to what can that Bills actually find. That Bills play is pretty huge. Also, does he want to take out the Baby Blounds instead? Because Guzzlord doesn't have the KO necessarily on the Charizard next, but how are you charging it? Is a big question. Nah, he's looking like he's going to take the Guzzlord, the big threat, down. Yeah, it seems smart. It seems the way that you've really got to take it, and really hoping for a good prize card pull and a good top deck to save the situation here. But I had to take it. There's the Salazzle. There's the Hound we're talking about. Really would have, I think Strasser was really hoping the Salazzle was there rather than Ninetales. They had to protect the Ditto that was sitting there on the bench, because that would have been just easy pickings for the Baby Blounds this turn. But let's see what Edward has in mind. A greens would be huge here. Oh, greens is what he finds. This is pretty devastating too. So this is going to be able to go and get another couple of Beast Rings. Really set up exactly what he needs. So Baby Blounds will be set up here. Guzzlord will be set up here. Just Beast Ring Energy Recycle System. Okay, needs to get energies back. Very interesting call that. So you're going to Beast Ring here. Go and chuck the energy onto the Baby Blacephalon. What's really awkward about this after this though? I mean, I suppose you have the Nihilego. But I would have thought it would have been really, really awkward to try and charge up that Guzzlord down the back there. Maybe he has a... I mean, I don't know what he's got prized. Maybe he has one of those beast rings prized. Interesting use pulling up the Mew. Very interesting use. So, Edward might be a little bit hamstrung in terms of the energies in this match. And you can see that he got the beast ring from the prize cards, so I think that's what the issue was, just bad prizing of the beast rings. And I'm not exactly sure how he's going to deal with that Charizard in the next turn. Taking out the Guzzlord, so obviously thinking that's the bigger threat here. Which it takes it off of Baby Blounce's, 12 damage counter turn now. So it's only getting 4 damage counters on. Yes, it can go anywhere at once, but it's not going to really get any value out of that. And I think we see that we're going to be... Like, Edward's going to be a little bit just hamstrung in the energy department. So this could be the Nihilego turn. Beast Ball. Doesn't get anything out of the prizes out of that. So yeah, here comes Nihilego. Giving some love to the deck there. I really do like Edward's deck. It's a really intriguing deck. And I think I'm going to have to test it out at some stage myself. I like it. I like what's going on there. I've also got some ideas, some changes I might make to it, but yeah, it's a really fun deck to see in action. I'm enjoying it. So he's chucking the 4 damage counters on. Unfortunately, he loses Baby Blounce here. And yeah, it's really not a good spot for Edward here. I think we are going to see a game 3. So the Rosa here being able to go and get the second Charizard out. Oh, that's if they KO something on the next turn, I guess. Edward saying he misplayed. So got Welders in hand, got Fire Energies in hand, got Fire Crystals. Just loving life here. Got the Ninetales to be able to take off anything on the bench if he ever wanted to. Just recycling Fire Energies back. Really dominant position at the moment. And I'm just not really seeing too many ways out of this for Edward here. Gonna bring up the Nihilego. And just take that out now. Fair enough, why not? 1 prize card to go. And stuck with just really Baby Blacephalon here. Not a lot more that Edward can do. You can see he's conceding here. Just a Fireworks Bomb. And that will see Strasser with an easy KO with the Zard. Just getting one last prize card. But yeah, just getting that easy KO with the Zard, and we will be heading into a game 3. So 2 game 3s in the second half of the quarterfinals. So sharing a win each. Heading to game 3. Who's going to be pulling through to the semis and up against a Nuzzlechew. Alright. So let's get started. Giving a good luck from Strasser there. Good luck both ways. Good sportsmanship. And unfortunately for Strasser, we do see a mulligan. Had the candies and Zards in the hand. Probably not a lot else going for it really though. Didn't actually see what Edward had in his hand to play down. We'll see it in a moment. So Strasser pulls out Mew and Salandit. Not really who you want to be starting the active, either of them. And no supporters either, living off top decks. This could be trouble for Strasser. It's going to really need to hit something off of his top deck. No! We don't see any... That is bad. That is bad. And we see the Dust Stone sitting in the hand there. We've got the Mysterious Treasure that that Edward can go and get something. It's got the Poke Gear as well. This could be the end of Strasser here, and you'd hate to see it really. You know, these two decks have had some really good matches against each other, and to brick this bad, you hate to see that. Yeah, he's writing here, love PTCGO, 13 supporters and 3 Poke Gears. I'd never start with any of them. RNG. You gotta love RNG. That sounds like the sort of luck I generally have. I'm surprised I didn't have that in my first match. I was joking around that first match. I was really, really worried that with my Scatterstoise deck, that I'd just start with the Wishy-Washy in play. And like, I'll go first and just have a bricked hand. Just be like, NG attach, pass it over. And my opponent just put 10 damage counters onto my Wishy-Washy, and then I'd flip tails and run to the deck and be game over. That's the sort of luck that I'm expecting at some stage during this tournament. So we see Edward Hyler here, getting out the second Miss Magius. Yeah, just gonna custom catch the Mew here. Probably get a bit of extra draw out of the custom catcher. Really start digging through the deck, because he's got an opportunity. Okay, gonna keep the other custom catcher. Fair enough. He's got a really good opportunity to put so much pressure on here. So wouldn't be surprised seeing the Guzzlord go down. Gonna Dust Stone here. Wouldn't even be surprised if Mischievous just went down here as well. Just an easy bench, clear the hand out, chuck the Beast Energy onto the Guzzlord. Really pressure, just because you know that Strasser's hand's bricked. After that first turn, you know that the hand is not good. I mean, he doesn't have the luxury of being able to see what his hand is and realize how bad it is, but the hand is not good. I'm surprised the Beast Energy didn't go down there, to be honest. I'm a bit surprised about that. Still got the greens allowing him to go and get the Beast Energy, so the Beast Rings. This is just devastating. And Strasser's top deck is going to have to be, I don't know, legendary. Instinct getting the counter gain. Saving Beast Rings, obviously. But that means he's going to have to draw an NG off this somewhere for the next turn if he wants to continue taking KOs. And potentially take the game here because... he's got Charizard he can play down, I guess. Not Charizard, Charmander. So... Strasser can stall for a little bit. Rainbow NG's there though, so yeah, able to NG attach and continue attacking with the Guzzlord. Oh, I really feel for Strasser here. It's just nothing he can do. His deck is not being kind in the slightest. And to go down another 2 prize cards here. And if that Bills finds a custom catcher, like how devastating would that be? And I bet you anything, just the way the luck's going, that this is what we're going to see. The custom catcher will come in, whack out the Charmander, and like what response can you do with that? I really feel bad for Strasser here. Such a good first 2 games. Okay, just getting the beast ring green, so we're not going to see the custom catcher play. Not that it's going to really matter in the slightest. Setting up the Guzzlord down back. And then just, yeah, NG attached to the Guzzlord, hitting the active. Chucking Lily Doll down, I mean, why not? And at this point, we've just seen, like, the amount of pressure, how quick this deck can be. The Turbo Beast deck. It can just put so much pressure. Yeah, Strasser didn't draw anything. But just so much pressure on your opponent that they have to be setting up immediately. If they can't set up immediately, then... yeah, it can just be over before they can even blink. So it's going to be a huge threat, I think, moving forward, Edward Hyler's deck. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how, you know, how he progresses in the tournament. But GG's to Strasser there. Yeah, unfortunate. I really hate seeing just such a good contest between 2 good decks there. Just coming down to a Game 3 brick. I mean, being decided by a brick, you never like to see that, and I really feel for Strasser there in that Game 3. I'd love to have seen a real tight contest that Game 3, just wasn't to be, but full credit to Edward Hyler, and he moves on to the semi-finals. He's going to be playing Nuzzlechew in the semi-finals. I really think that's going to be a cracking contest, as do I think the matchup that I have with my Scatterscoist deck versus the Miltank. So lots of fun action still to come in the semi-finals, and that'll be coming in our next video. But until then, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll catch you in the next one.